Hey everyone, welcome to the Bomb Life Podcast. I am Melissa Vogel, your host. Welcome to the show. It's a crazy time of year. It is the summer. I say that all the time because I feel like we're either in the holidays or school starting or it's ending or like it's just always like this. And right now we're in the middle of summer, and it is the time when people either are going on vacation more, which is fine, which is totally what we do. Go on vacation more, we're eating out more, we're traveling more, we're not on our normal. And I just want to give this one piece of advice, and then I'll introduce our guest and then we'll go on from there. But I just want to bring this to a level of awareness for you of like how much are things changing for the summer for you right now, and how much is that going to impact you come fall when everything slows down. What parts of your travel can you tweak? How and when can you pack food? Make your own. If you are in an Airbnb, can you not go out to eat more? Can you make food there? Um, can you find a local gym and still just fit it in? Adjust your goals right now, because I know I have to. In the summertime, that is not the time for me to be like on my grind and see how much muscle I can put on and cut up. Like, no, I have been doing that since February. Right now is a time for me to just kind of like maintain, do the best I can. And then I know like come August, I hit the ground running again. It sets us up for success and not failure when we think of it that way. When we can be like, okay, I'm going to be realistic. This is my goal. Then when I do a weigh-in or I check in and I'm like not where I'm expected to be, and if I've put on a couple pounds or my muscle hasn't changed, I'm not mad at myself. Like, no, this was the goal, Melissa. You knew, you had intention, you were aware, you got clarity on this, and it's okay. I think a lot of people get into trouble when they're like every weigh and they're like, why aren't I down more weight? Why isn't this happening? Well, what was your expectations for the summer? Now, I do work with a lot of teachers or a lot of people that are like, no, this is the time for me to get really clear with my workouts in my gym. Okay, awesome. Is your goal to lose 10 pounds then? Perfect. Then what does your routine need to look like? Even when you're traveling, set your expectations so your actions can match your expectations. They have to go hand in hand. That is my biggest piece of advice for you. And today's episode, we're talking about emotional clarity. We're talking about that awareness. She says at one point in the episode, I wrote it down here. She said, like, during the change, like, you can preserve things during changes and during hard times. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I would have heard that years ago, especially when I was like going through my divorce and other really hard things. Like, whoa, hold on, you don't have to lose yourself. So I'm saying that now because I want you to remind yourself that as you're traveling, as you're going through a really hard season right now, as you're doing things, like there's change, something's going on, you can preserve you. There are things that you can preserve through all of this. You don't have to completely lose yourself in whatever sense that means to you. I thought that was really, really powerful. And this is the other thing she said, you're just building the next best version of yourself. Like, that's right. I'm just building the next version of myself. And you know what? For me in like the summer, the version that I'm building right now, that person learns how to be like calm, cool, and collected and know how to just do maintenance during the summer months. That's me. Hi. That's the version I'm building right now. That's cool. So our guest today is Stacie Shifflett, and she knows what it looks like to have a full accomplished life that somehow still feels like it's missing something. Stacie knows this well, and she built a whole body of work around figuring out why. And Stacie Shifflett is the founder of Modern Consciousness, which you guys have to check out, and Amazon's best-selling author, Treasure Map to Joy. Through her clarity sequence, she helps high-achieving women cut through the noise and see what's actually driving their results. Not what should be working, but what is working and what isn't. Oh, the conversation today was so good on this, you guys. Her approach is practical, honest, and zero fluff. so happy to have Stacie on the show. So go to the show notes, check it out. Her book is a great summer read, and it's not huge, it's not massive, but it's very, very powerful. So go to the show notes, click the link. We'll put that there for you. Get it, read it by the pool, and start learning the treasure map to your joy. All right, everyone, enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to the show. Stacie Shifflett. I am so excited that you are here. You are the guru of emotional clarity. Girl, this is going to be a good conversation.
I hope so. Yeah. I've got some new info on that too that I'm going to share with you, my personal experience that I'm going through. Wow, what a learning experience.
Do we get to be like the first to hear it?
Yes,
Or we're the
actually.
first?
We do.
I love it. I love it when we get to be the first of something. Okay, so everyone already heard how like fabulous and fantastic you are in the introduction to this show, but I have to say, I feel like there are more and more women that are like high achieving, really doing good. Women are just taking charge of their life, working really hard and everything. But, they're still really stuck. They don't feel satisfied, like something is missing. And this is literally like the type of people that you speak to, that you work with, isn't it?
I think a lot of it is, we keep operating on decisions we made years ago, sometimes even decades ago, right?
Mm,
We just keep going. We just keep going and going. And we keep making new decisions and we accept new responsibilities. And,
yep.
we do all that without really ever stopping to gain an understanding of the full landscape of our life. We're not taught to do that.
No, no. We're taught to be like a certain role, be a certain person, especially women. We're taught to like sit there, be polite, look pretty. That's what you do.
Often.
Yeah, all the time. And me having like 3 girls, I got to be careful that I'm not continuing that message on with them. I want them to go out and rock the boat and really understand what's going on, but we're just, like you said, we're not taught that. I have to ask, like, how did you get into this? How did like emotional clarity become the thing that you focus on and teach about? And I mean, because it's your whole world now. I mean, you wrote on this, you speak on this, everything. How did that start for you?
It started with me in 2012 when a 28-year marriage imploded. And
28 years.
yes, and I had to make a decision. It was time for me to make a decision because nobody else was going to do that for me, and
Mhm.
it was time to leave the marriage. And so that, a lot of women have been through that, and we know how disruptive that is.
Yep.
And that's part of the theme in my book, Treasure Map to Joy, right? We think it's going to destroy us, but it's really a disruption, right? Disruption is not the same as
Mm.
destruction. We will get through it if we allow ourselves to, right? So that's really what set me about. It took me about 2 years into my divorce before I was really like, oh my God, Stace, I mean, I was busy, I was traveling, I was out partying with friends, I ramped up my social life, all these things. And then I was like, I've still got all this resentment and anger. And you know what they say, when we get tired of our own BS, that's when we do something about it. And,
Yeah.
and I was realizing that I was still stuck in grief and stuck in some of these emotions. So I went about really jumping in the pool of personal development in a very big way. I'm kind of geeky at heart, right? I'm a good analyst and I like to understand things. And so I went into it to understand myself better, but I had this overarching reason, for some odd reason, that part of that mission for me was really to understand the human condition in general, right? Not just me, but the human condition in general.
Mhm.
So after all those years of intense personal development work, including like 2 years as a platinum partner with Tony Robbins, and I've done
Wow.
so many different things and gotten so many different certifications and worked with so many different people. I had this vision come to me for my company, Modern Consciousness, and a program called Elevate Your Life. And then I have taken the first two pieces of that because I think they are so often overlooked, and that is getting clarity, right? Clarity on where you are. And then what are your aspirations? And I put the aspirations not in terms of achievements because that's normally what we do, right? We look at it as an external achievement. But how do you want to feel in your life? So
Mm.
I think back to your original question, I think that women get this disconnect between what they're doing and achieving and how they think they should be feeling and experiencing life. But that's not what's really happening. That's not their experience. They're experiencing some frustration and a number of emotions. And their little voice keeps going, yeah, something's wrong. Something's not right.
Yeah, and we just, like, shove it down. We, like,
Yeah.
ignore it because they're like, "That n no, 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 that's normal," and we just, like, push that little annoying gnat.
Yes. Yes. And probably if you ignore it, it gets louder and louder
Yes.
until it becomes a crisis. And we don't have to have a crisis.
Yeah. You said you gotta know, like, and have clarity of where you're at. And I have to say, like, I think that scares people. I think that would probably be really scary for some people of getting crystal clear of where they're at right now in their life because people don't wanna face it because they know they probably don't like it.
They probably don't like it and they don't know what to do about it.
Yeah,
Right? What do I do with that information?
right.
And part of the topic that I wanted to get into today with us too is, there's a lot of talk about clarity, right? And we think, oh, clarity is going to bring certainty, relief, and peace. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. Right? It creates a lot of uncertainty, grief, and difficult decisions. My deciding to divorce is one of those, right? I was very clear that that's what I needed to do
Mhm.
at that point in time before I developed any of this. But oh my God, did that create a lot of uncertainty and grief? It was a difficult decision. And there's a lot of things that create that, right? If our career no longer fits, um, a friendship, if we have a really close friendship, a best friend, and that ends, that creates that.
Yeah.
If we need to evolve our business and we don't know how, and where I'm at now is having made the decision to complete a chapter of life and start a new one. So I'm on the completing side, and I knew the first step to take to start to do that, and it was aligned in multiple areas of my life. But that's all I know is the first step. So I have a lot of uncertainty. I'm experiencing a lot of grief. I'm experiencing more healing, right? Because things come up. And it's kind of an interesting place to be in, right? So
Is
what
this what you were
happened?
talking about where you're like, "I have news."
Yeah, so I'm going through this right now, and I I have a home on Siesta Key in Florida, and it's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. It's my favorite place on earth. And I'm maintaining 2 homes because I have another home in Virginia, and, we do things like hurricanes in Florida, and I've had property in Florida for decades, and I'm getting older, and I'm having some vision issues, that I'm working with Johns Hopkins on. It's impacting my daily life, right? Because I can't always just get in the
Yeah.
car and go where I want when I want. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things. My son is here in Virginia. So I made a conscious decision to sell the home that I love. It is absolutely my favorite place on earth. And it's a big decision. And I made it so thoroughly that I actually exited the home, right? Because if I remove all my personal things and leave the house, so I've released it energetically. I
Mhm.
have opened it to new people that come in that can see themselves there instead of seeing me there, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of uncertainty with that, right? There's uncertainty with the real estate market. I'm back here in Virginia, which is not necessarily my favorite place, although I lived here for decades as well. I don't know what the next chapter holds. All I know is the first step. Now, there's a million little pieces in that first step. And I have to remind myself that the rest of it will evolve as it should in the timing that it's going to evolve in, right? I have no control over any of that. But I don't really know what the next chapter of my life is going to look like. And that's a little bit, I get to design it, but I've had some vision issues, like I said. My vision and vestibular system and all, they don't talk to each other that well. So, interstate driving, I'm not doing that right now. 2
Mm,
years ago, after the hurricane hit my house, I could get in the car and drive to Florida. Can't do that now. So, there's different considerations and a lot of unknowns, and it's bringing up a lot for me, right? It brings up, if we are changing a chapter in our lives or we're making these big decisions, there is grief. We don't necessarily have certainty. We don't necessarily have people that are going to reassure us that everything is going to be okay,
right.
right, in a meaningful way. We don't necessarily have somebody external that can validate what we're doing.
Yeah.
We have to lean into that and know that for ourselves. We know ourselves the best, and we have to lean into that, and it will eventually bring some relief. It doesn't mean it's not necessarily easy.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but it's still something that needs to be done, right?
Now I'm going to play devil's advocate of the listener. If someone's sitting
Uh-huh.
there, they're driving their car, they're on their way to work, and they're like, they know they have to do this next step, and they're going, "But Stacy, how? How did you get so clear on this step that you knew had to happen, but you didn't like it? Like, how where do I start to get this clarity to have the confidence to make this decision, knowing that the second step is terrifying?"
It is, and I use my program, right? My Clarity Sequence program really evolved from me, and it's
I
it's,
love
uh,
that.
it's a matter of if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right answers, right?
That's
So, the first piece of this two-part program, which you don't have to do it with me. It's set up so that you can just do it in the privacy with you, yourself, and I, right? It guides you through a lot of different questions because we have to really dive into each area of your life and figure out, okay, what am I experiencing right now in my relationship? What am I experiencing
mm,
in my home? What am I experiencing, with my health? And to really start going into detail to understand what's working really well in those areas and what you want to preserve. We
yeah.
also forget that we can preserve things when we're making change, and we need to be
Mm,
clear about those things. And then what is causing us issues and why, right? We need to understand why, because oftentimes we think we know why, but we really don't. It's not the right problem, right? So we try to solve the wrong problem. And if something's going on in one area of your life, it's sneaky. It shows up in other areas, but it disguises itself. It looks like something completely different.
mhm. I remember reading that I think it was, like, in your bio, but, like, how people oh god, what did you say? It was something like, we think we're approaching and attacking the right problem, and we're not. We're,
Mm-mm.
like,
Often it's not.
yeah, often it's not. You said something else too that I thought was really cool. I wrote this down. I'm, like, literally gonna put it on a sweatshirt. Like, you should put it on a t-shirt. You said, "Preserve things you can preserve things during the change."
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh my god, I could take that in so many different directions," because I went through a divorce too, 17 years, so not as long as yours, but 3 kids, 17 years, literally starting my entire life over, and thinking about that, and if I would have heard that, that would have helped so much of like, "Melissa, you can still preserve you through all of this. You can still preserve your happy home and, like, your children and your family unit that you're
Mm.
growing them that they're growing up in." And I think that was important change.
Yes. When we look, so often when we're, because we all complain, right? Oh my God, I wish this or I wish that.
Right.
We're always looking for the thing to change.
Mhm.
What do I need to change to make my life better? But you don't want to lose what you value most as you make
Mhm.
those changes.
Yes.
So it's also very important to get clear on what you value. For example, a peaceful, happy
Yes.
family life at home with a husband, if that's not working without a husband, you can still preserve that. It may look
Mhm.
different. So, what does that need to look like for you for this season of life? And the things that are important to us tend to evolve over the seasons of our lives as well, right? We may have been career oriented 150% for years, and that may have created a lot of good outcomes, but we don't want to dedicate all of ourselves to that area of our life anymore because other areas we're suffering in other ways. So
Right.
we've lost so the outcome that we really wanted to achieve and the things that we thought we would be preserving and creating in our life didn't necessarily come about because we're wobbly and we're putting all of our focus in this other
Mm.
area that has pulled things out of balance.
Mm.
Mhm.
I tell my clients this all the time of like figuring out with their health and fitness journey, like what they value. And you said that, like, you have to figure out what you value first. And I see this like in the health and fitness space too, of like so many women don't value themselves. It sounds
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself. When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere. Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone. Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, so I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing, they're easy to toss in my bag on the go, plus they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA and FSA, eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
it's weird and crazy saying that of like, what? How can people like not value themselves? But when I see someone and they come into me and they are just treating their body like a human garbage can, they're not going out for walks. They're not paying attention to how they let other people speak to them and the energy they come. And I'm like, oh my God, girl, where is your self value? What do you hold sacred? And a lot of women, they're clueless. They don't see this, they don't realize it, and I'm like, we can't even move forward and work on a healthier, healed version of you until you know, like, what do you hold sacred? What do you value in your life right now?
I think a lot of women are givers, and we're so used to giving and saying yes and doing for others that we forget that none of that works without us being healthy and happy and joyful and content. And, I think at peace, right? I think peace of mind is our greatest personal asset. Now, you have to have knowledge. That's the prerequisite, right? You
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know. So learn, yourself will guide you on what book you're drawn to or what speaker you want to listen to or podcast or what have you. Learn things that are outside of your personal worldview and gain a bigger perspective. But it's not just the knowledge, right? I've seen so many people go to events and they come out, they are supercharged, and I'm going to change 7,932 things come Monday, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's too much, right? They don't have the tools to do incremental change, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go slow. So you have to embody what you're learning. And my version of personal development is just creating the next best version of yourself
Mm.
over and over and over again.
I love that.
Thank you.
It makes it so simple. Oh my God, I'm gonna totally tell that to my daughters.
Yeah, it's small steps. Chunk it down, small steps. I learned small steps. I used to have a llama farm too. I've done so many different things and been in so many
I
different
read
industries.
that. Oh my God, I'm
Yes.
like, does that say llama?
Yes, llama. Did you think you'd meet somebody that raised llamas? I don't anymore, but yeah, I learned that training the babies and even shearing them sometimes, right? Like I was out there shearing a llama and she just wasn't having any of it. And I was about a quarter of the way through and I thought, there is no rule that I have to finish shearing this llama today. She's not happy. I'm not happy. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Right.
Not that they're violent animals. They're, but still, if they're annoyed and in the chute, you can get kicked or whatever. So, chunk it down, do little bits at a time. Everybody stays happy. But I mostly learned that with training the babies, right? Because you don't just throw a halter on and latch it and put a lead on and drag them around. So I would hold the lead out and just let them, or the halter, and let them sniff it and see what it was. And then I would just take it and tap their nose. They're like, oh, okay. So that's not so scary. It touches my nose. And I would just do that for a couple of days.
Uh-huh.
And then to put the band around their nose, take it off. Oh, Mom, what'd you do? And then they don't care. Oh, okay, that's not scary. And it's the same thing with us, right? If we do things in small, incremental, consistent steps, forgive ourselves when we take a step back, or even two, because we always will,
Yep.
that's how we make progress. And that's how we implement change in our lives.
Yep. And so many people are just like, give it to me now. Tell me what to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to start eating this. And I'm like, whoa, one thing.
One thing, pick one
One
thing
thing.
and stick with it.
I I just asked someone this the other day. It's so funny. I always bring everything back to weight training and lifting and health.
Yeah.
So just go with it, Stacie.
That's all right. That's what you do. Yes.
But I asked a client the other day, I was like, hey, are you sore from your workout? We were like in a group chat and she's like, no, not really. And I'm like, okay, what do you think you need to change? Like, why do you think you don't like feel it the next day or anything? Not that that's 100% important. And I'm like, do you think you need to do more reps, more weight? Do you need to do another set? Like, what needs to change here? And she's like, all of it. She's like, everything you just listed, I probably need to change all of it. She's like, so I'll do that in my next workout. I'm like, oh, whoa. Hold on. I want you to pick one thing and focus on one thing to do. And maybe that's you're going to do the next dumbbell up with that. And just pay attention to that. And don't worry about like your sets or how many reps you do. I just want you to work to failure. And she's like, oh, really? But you said all these things. I'm like, no, those are all things to like consider, but I want you to just take one baby step towards it. And then she was like, oh my God, it totally worked. I'm like, yeah. Okay, now we can implement something else.
Well, we're such overachievers, right? We want to do it all
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
yesterday.
Now. Absolutely. Absolutely. And people too, do you work with people or see this happen where if it's like not perfect, then
Oh, yeah.
like, well, then what's the point? Like if I can't do it all or, if it doesn't look exactly how it's supposed to look, then like, what's even the point?
Yeah, it's such an interesting phenomenon. I mean, because we forget that we've had to learn absolutely everything that we know in life. Absolutely
Right?
everything, right?
So true.
We couldn't walk, we couldn't drive a car, we couldn't ride a bike, right? And then it becomes second nature. So we have to learn that. And we have to, awareness is key, right? It's such a key. Like I'll
Oh
give
my
you a
God,
good
girl.
example.
Yes.
I've had a few days here since, shifting from Florida to Virginia, and, I've just felt like miserable. And, I'm here with my son and he's so delighted to have me here and he's so helpful. And he knows it's a big change for me. And, I can't say, oh my God, I hate it here. Right. You know how sometimes when you're
Right.
frustrated, you say something and you're overgeneralizing and you're just like, oh, I hate it here. Right.
Yes.
We all do that. Can't say that. That's, if I'm alone in my room and I need to scream or hit a pillow, right? Get it off your chest.
Right.
That's one thing. But we have to be conscious and aware of, obviously the language that we're speaking, right? I can say those things and go, oh, clear cancel, right? It's eight. These are the 5 good things about this. We can certainly change our mindset and work on ourselves, but sometimes we just need to vent and get the frustration out.
Yeah.
But be careful how you do that because you impact others. Right? Because I want him to think, oh my God, I hate that you're here with me.
Right.
And that's not it. So and that would make the whole situation worse. That would make my adjustment worse. It would make his experience worse.
Mhm.
So we have to be conscious of these things. And that's where awareness comes in and taking a pause and just thinking about the consequences of what we're thinking and saying. Now, if you need to go hit a pillow, go hit a pillow. If you need to have a good cry, go have a good cry. I've had a few of those in this last couple of weeks.
I bet.
But you got to get it out. You know,
Yeah.
you got to just say, okay, what, and understand what is it? Is it that I hate the situation? No, I'm grieving a lot of things, right? I'm
Yes.
leaving a home that I knew would not be my permanent home. I'm 69 years old. I'll be 70 next year. It's a lot of responsibility. I'm single. I'm on my own. It's waterfront property. I'm maintaining 2 homes. So I have to bring myself and remind myself for the reasons which are good, valid reasons.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of emotions that come with that. It doesn't just because I have clarity on the decision doesn't mean I don't have that I have certainty, right? Clarity doesn't necessarily equal certainty. It's going to churn up. I feel like what was it? I don't know. I don't watch it, but Housewives of whatever, right, where they flip the table, right? I feel like I've done
Yeah.
that to my life, right? Just go, okay, let's just flip it, right? I've actually have done that before in my life, made major, major changes that were, huge. And I got through those okay. We usually get through all of our difficult times okay.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, we have survived everything. Like, if
Everything.
you really think about it, like, there hasn't been one thing or one situation that you haven't made it through. Even though at the time you thought, like, "This is it. This is the end. This is what takes me out. This will be the end of," you know,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
And no, that's not true. We've made it through everything. And that awareness and, like, everything that you're describing right now, I always tell my clients and my kids too, I'm always going through, "Okay, is this fact or feelings?"
Mhm.
Separate all of the facts and everything you're listing about your site and your home and the maintenance and, like, everything. Those are, like, solid facts. Those, they're not going to change. And we're very, emotionally driven. We don't have that emotional clarity on a lot of things. And then those emotions drive us. And just pausing and putting things like in 2 boxes, I'm always like, what are just your feelings? Because it's not fact. It's not
Mhm.
100% concrete. And then what are the facts? And then go from there. Like, I love it. Now, how with this emotional clarity, do you have and it's probably, like, in your program, is it modern consciousness? No,
Mhm.
you're okay. Is
The
there
the program is called the clarity sequence. I've
the
a bigger
clarity
piece of
sequence?
that. I have a bigger piece that continues after that, but yes, the
Okay.
clarity sequence.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Mhm.
Is there steps? Like, everything is like, how does that work? Break that down for us and, like, how people can actually get to that level of clarity with your program.
It involves taking a good vulnerable look at yourself, right? So, actually, what I do, I give you this big Word document that has all these questions in it, and we look at the different dimensions of your life. That I call them, the different aspects of your life, the domains, I guess, right? So, there's some general broad questions, and then, what it does is it invites you to sit down with yourself, be vulnerable and honest with yourself so that you can really gain an understanding of where you are at. That's the
Mm,
first piece. It's called
okay.
the assessment.
Okay.
And it's something that you can do in the privacy of your own home, right? If you want to print it out and write, if you're happier writing and journaling, you take the document and do that. I like to work on the computer. I actually give you an editable document, and you can work on it. In Word or, whatever, so that it takes you through the process of thinking about each area, what's good, what's frustrating you. There's a lot of questions. Again, if you don't ask the right questions, you don't get the right answers.
Yep.
So I invite you to sit with all of these questions
Okay.
and really think about it and consider it. I think grabbing your first answer is awesome because that's often your subconscious, even if you go, oh my God, where did that come from? Right? Like, "Ooh, where'd that come from?"
Mhm.
But I also encourage people to really sit with it at a deep level, contemplate it. If you're having trouble with the question, say, okay, meditate on it or go to bed that night and say, okay, I'm setting an intention that I need the answer to this question, right? You have the answers. I don't have your answers. I can
Yeah.
help you find your answers. But you have the answers. You know yourself better than anybody else. If you allow yourself to step deeply within and be honest and vulnerable with yourself. And then the second half of that is okay, so now that we understand that, how would you like to be feeling in each area of your life? And again, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of thought. There's you know, an exercise to really understand your strengths, right? So often we look only at our weaknesses, and I like people to also look at their strengths. So it's
Yes.
all in a self-guided two-part process.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a little bit different, and I'm happy to work with people on it. There is an option for that.
Okay. You
Um
like do coaching and like would work with them through it?
yeah, to help get to the answers, and then there's mentorship that can come after that. Say, okay, now that I understand these two things, what do I do next?
Yeah.
What is the next incremental step that I can take to start to affect these things in an efficient and positive way in your life? And so, what I find, and let's pick a pattern. What pattern? What habit do you have that's negatively impacting your life the most? Because usually there is one.
Oh, that's such a good question, Stacie.
And when
Oh,
you can change just that one pattern and put conscious effort into that pattern throughout all the areas of your life, you will be astonished at the change you can create. Maybe you're so stressed out, and sometimes it's not the obvious thing, right? So maybe you're just so tense and so stressed out that you're snapping at everybody. You're snapping at the kids, you're snapping at your partner, you're snapping at people at work, people that work for you, the checkout lady at the grocery store, right? So, what's creating that pattern in you? Let's understand that and then start working on just that. And that alone can transform so many things. So, when I say sometimes it's disguised, right? So, it allows us to get a little bit of traction.
yeah.
And then once we start getting some traction and it becomes habit and we automatically check ourselves, right? We'll have a thought or something will start to come out of our mouth and we go, oh, yeah, no. And then it becomes automatic and you say something. I've done this myself, right? I react to a situation in a different way, say something. And then I go, oh my God, that was me, right? That was not the me from 10 years ago or 15 years
Right.
ago, but now that is me. And then pick the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it's life changing.
Oh my God. As you're talking, like I can picture how like I've literally done this so many times in my life of just like picking something of like, and it's hard to admit when you do something that's a habit and it's daily that you're doing something that's bad for you every single day. And it's like, it. Cause it's like, what? I would never do anything that would be bad for me. Like, what do you mean? Like,
Well, and we
and
blame it on the circumstance. Well, I'm just
yeah,
stressed. It's
yes,
just there's too much going on at work, or there's this, or there's that. Those
yeah,
are all external reasons. We take ourselves everywhere we go. We are the one constant in our life. So who do you want to be with?
right,
You want to be with a miserable person or you want to be with somebody that's, joyful. And, it doesn't mean you don't ever grieve or cry or,
right.
get upset, but, there are ways to deal with all of those negative, for lack of a better word, situations in a more positive, gentler way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, for example, wine. I know so many women that still do it or have like come into my program and they have one, two, or more glasses every night. And they're like, but this is just my one thing, Melissa. I kept my macros in check. I ate super healthy and clean. I went to the gym and this is just the one thing. And I'm like, but how toxic and damaging is this one thing? And then now you're only relying on the wine to bring yourself into a calm space. You can't do that on your own.
Yeah, yeah. Pick a different habit. Meditate, learn something, right?
Something besides a neurotoxin every single night, you know?
Yeah,
I'm
yes.
hard on 'em, Stacie.
Yeah,
But I
and we
love
do.
this.
We don't realize it because we're so involved with it. It's like seeing the forest for the trees, right? We're in the
Yes.
middle of it and we don't know. And if
Yeah.
somebody reflects something back to us, we get offended,
Yep.
but it's all about ourself, right? I'm not kidding. We live in our skin and in our head and in our heart every minute of every day.
Mhm.
So take care of those things.
Every single day. We're it.
Get better at it, right? It's
Yeah.
like anything else. We can improve our internal life, you know? I'm sure you've met women that and men too, right? They're the victim. They're the victim in all of this. They are absolved of any responsibility. They never heal,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So change your story, change your life.
Stacie, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? Where can they get your book? Tell us everything. We'll put everything in the show notes too, but I love hearing from you as well.
Sure, sure. Everything is on my website, modernconsciousness.com.
Okay.
And Modern Consciousness is my handle for social media.
Perfect.
For Facebook and Instagram and that stuff. It's under my name on LinkedIn, but yeah, that's the best place to find the path toward me.
Okay.
The book is Treasure Map to Joy. It is offered on Amazon. I believe Barnes and Noble is carrying it as well on their website, but pretty much I've been
Nice.
selling it on Amazon.
Okay.
And
Easy.
it's a short, quick read, but a very powerful little book. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Oh, Stacie, this has just been amazing. I love conversations like these, and you just never know who's going to hear it, and they're going to go, that right there, that Stacie said to me, that clicked. That meant something to me. I heard her on this podcast this one time, and she said this one thing.
It
And
only
it
takes
hit me.
one thing to
It
connect.
really
I
does.
also, if I might, I have a relationship to joy quiz on my website, and
Oh,
it's something
yes.
that I've stood up that's relatively new. And you think that it's not how joyful you are, it's your relationship with joy and how you allow or disallow joy in your life. What it really reveals is how you relate to life in general. So that is something also that's available on my website if
Okay.
your folks want to do that quiz.
We'll put a link to it. We'll put a direct
Thanks.
link to it in the show notes so everyone can go out and do that and find their true joy. Stacie, you have been such a blessing to this show. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing
Thank
with us.
you.
This was absolutely incredible. And I hope we get to keep this conversation going. I hope this isn't the only
Yes.
time that we get to work together.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks so
So
much.
fun. Everyone, check out the show notes and stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time. Yay! The Bomb Life podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared here is not intended as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any health, fitness, financial, or legal decisions. The opinions shared on this podcast are personal experiences and insight. So if you need expert guidance, go find the right professional for you. Thanks for listening.